our next guest, who you may or may not be familiar with. Maybe you don't know her by name. Her name is Anne Gibbons. You may be familiar with the title that she blogs/substacks under, Anne Can't Stand It. And I will throw a link into her Substack and also to her website, annecan'tstandit.com, where you can find more about her work. But if you do take a look at her work and you find yourself thinking, well, that looks vaguely familiar, well, then you probably have seen it before, because she's done, for example, commissioned work for the World Council for Health, not the World Health Organization, the World Council for Health that, for example, hosted me at the Better Way conference last year, etc. Well, she's done work for them, like the Who or You campaign and the Great Reset campaign that they've been working on, and other things besides. So you might have seen her work floating around online by this point. If not, please do familiarize yourself with it. She has a very interesting, unique style, and I think is very much engaged in the meme war, in a sense. I don't know if she would think of it in those terms, but I think it falls broadly into this category. And so I had the chance recently to talk to Anne Gibbons about her work and how she got into it. I found out about her background, for example, starting with an inclination towards art and liking art and wanting to do art, but that's not a profession. So she majored in sociology and spent years doing work that she wasn't particularly interested in before trying to find outlets for her artistic creative expression, taking art classes as kind of a side hobby vehicle, and doing some greeting card work and getting involved with the Six Chicks comic book, etc. So she had some outlets for her inclination, but she found herself drawing to cartooning, but didn't really think she had much to say in particular until the scamdemic hit, and then she had a lot to say. And that is now why she is a prolific and regular cartoonist under the handle Anne Can't Stand It. And again, I'll let the work speak for itself, and I hope you'll go check it out. But I had the chance recently to talk to her about her work, and I started by asking her if there was any particular piece that she could think of from the many that she's done so far that she was particularly proud of, taking a very complicated idea and condensing it down into a single image.
There's, the WHO, the World, I've done several on the World Council, then One Health, and what the WHO, the treaty, the regulations, that's really hard. That they've written it so complicated and ridiculously obtuse so that intentionally you can't figure it out. To put that into plain language, like I had a friend of mine said, trying to figure out the WHO, it's like, just read this cartoon and you'll get the gist of it for the WHO. But recently I had a couple of things. Just recently I read this book, What the Nurses Saw by Ken McCarthy, about it's interviews with nurses, particularly in New York, and a respiratory therapist, what their experiences were right in the early days of the hospital thing. And it's absolutely just, I was riveted, even though I know a lot of this stuff. This was like, oh my God, this is the levels of fraud and intentionally murdering people. It's like, you can't even believe it. So I did something on that and shared it. And I usually get about 3,000, maybe 4,000 views. And this one got like almost 9,000 views in a week. And I sent it to Ken McCarthy. So here's to me like the perfect, to me, a great hit that he wrote, Anne, our sales were starting to fall off a cliff. Then you gifted us with your marvelous cartoon. Yesterday was our very, very best sales day ever, and by far measure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's like, to me, that's like gold.
What could be more gratifying than to hear that your work has had such an impact? Absolutely.